Hello, I'm Thomas Hare, Chief Content Officer of the Performance Driven Marketing Institute, a not-for-profit trade association that serves companies in the performance and direct consumer marketing world. Welcome to the first event in our fall seminar series, today created by the PDMI Women's Leadership Council. The title is Golden Girls. We welcome all of you to today's event, PDMI members and non-members alike. If you're not a PDMI member but are attending today, we'd love to have you consider joining the association. There's no better way to support the mission of the PDMI than joining and sharing your voice in the direction of the industry. In the handouts tab of your control panel, you'll find our PDMI membership brochure. I urge you to download it, flip through it, and contact any of our team members should you desire more information. One more housekeeping note, the group will be addressing questions at the from the audience at the end of today's session, but you don't have to wait to ask them. Utilize the questions tab on your control panel to type and send your question in. We'll be collecting them. We'll try to get to as many as possible in the final moments of the webinar. As we approach the end of Q4 and reflect on 2023, these members of the Women's Leadership Council are here today to identify the moments of this year that were pivotal. The council, which launched in January and has now exceeded more than 70 members, has been instrumental in creating unity in our community. This session promises to be personal, and the group here is ready to speak to the events of 2023, how they've affected their businesses, and how they are looking forward from here. With that, I will introduce our moderator, the chair of the PDMI Women's Leadership Council, Fern, the CEO of THOR Associates, who will take this group through the next hour. Fern, take it away.
Thanks, Tom. So we appreciate everyone joining the panel. We're excited to talk as the Golden Girls, and literally we appreciate everyone, leaning into PDMI's Women's Leadership Council. So I'm Fern, the CEO of THOR Associates. I'm grateful for the experience to be an award-winning professional with a proven track record in creating and increasing brand awareness. My strengths have allowed me to identify profitable customer segments, cultivate ways to favorably position clients' products and services, and ultimately create breakthrough marketing campaigns that deliver successful ROIs. In 2018, I was inducted into the Direct Response Hall of Fame, an honor I hold as dear as my friendships and business relationships I'm lucky to have. Next up, our panelists. Lissie Perkins, she's the Vice President of Client Growth at Casualty Precision, bringing a wealth of experience and fresh perspective to the direct response industry. With a career that spans from the grassroots to leadership positions, she's made a significant impact in campaign strategy and client growth. Lissie's experience extends to traditional digital media, and she's been at the forefront of shaping TV and radio strategy, streaming media, and customer acquisition strategies. Next up, we have Theresa. She's the Director of Sales in the Advertising Division at Yangaroo, where she's worked for 7 years. Well known to provide solutions, Theresa has been a part of the ad tech industry for over 25 years on both the client services and business development sides, coming from DG and AdStream before joining Yangaroo. Karyn Schultheiss is next. She's the EVP, Group Media Director and Broadcast Planning Liaison for TouchPoint Integrated Communications. Karyn has over 30 years of integrated direct response and brand response media experience with a focus on analytics and operations. Karyn honed her skills on some of the most highly regarded DR agencies, including Wonderman, Media Direct, ID Media, and MRM prior to helping start TIC 18 plus years ago. She also oversees all broadcast client onboarding, ensuring a seamless transition to campaign launch. And last but not least is Kaitlin Stebbins. Kaitlin is the Performance Media Sales Manager at Samsung Ads. In this role, she oversees a portfolio that includes performance agencies and advertisers. Before joining Samsung Ads, Stebbins served as the Associate Director of Advertising Solutions at PubMatic, where she managed annual revenue goals of $130 million and maintained crucial relationships with prominent agencies such as IPG, Omnicom, Publicis, WPP, and Horizon Media. She's a proactive professional, lending herself to Soccer Supporters International, where she serves as a member of their board of directors and has contributed her time and efforts for over 13 years. So let's talk a little about what we're going to talk about today. It'll be a little exciting. We all know that everyone has different management styles with resolution conviction, and we're going to present and talk about different case studies that really inspire both professionally and personally. So falling forward, everything we do is risk. Everything is about a risk. So what does it mean to fall forward? So for me, it means to take a chance to go all in to achieve something positive. It means that even when we fail in striving to accomplish a goal, we learn from the fall. And then when we get up again, we've been stronger than before. So today we're going to talk about different case studies, and each panelist is going to talk about failure to success and moments that inspire. and 3 of the key points, and we're going to play off each other, teammates. So how did your moment relate to your personal, professional development? Were there any challenges that were pivotal to client interaction because of your moment? And what is the one takeaway you want to share with the PDMI webinar participants so others can learn from this moment? Karyn, why don't you start and inspire us?
Sure, thanks so much, Fern. So I'm really not a quote person, but I feel the below is something that I experience daily being in the advertising industry, which is stay positive, work hard, and make it happen. I don't know who the author is, and the quote I don't think is specific to me, as I'm sure almost everyone sitting on this panel and attending this webinar can really relate to it. But it was especially relevant to me recently when the launch date of a test campaign was accelerated by 8 weeks. That gave me and my team 3 weeks to flawlessly launch not only a new campaign, but also launch a new client. And there was one other big factor, which is the campaign was launching during the most aggressive quarter for broadcast, which is Q4. So in order to meet this accelerated launch timing, I really needed to be extremely organized across my active clients to ensure I could continue to deliver for them while focusing on the operational setup for this new client. So that was everything from coordinating finance and systems, looking at outside vendors, as well as provide historical results analysis, which was the launching pad for our buys and for our plan approach. And all of these elements needed to happen pretty quickly, so it would allow time for my amazing broadcast buying team to finalize their negotiations, and I could finalize their test plan and their approach, secure the approval, and then issue dubs so that we could go live by their requested date. So this ensured this made me have accelerated but somewhat reasonable timelines for all teams involved to deliver, as everything needed to really happen in a sequence within this condensed window. From a challenge perspective, we were really, really lucky that the client was keenly aware that they had set a pretty aggressive timeline, and so they were extremely responsive to all of our questions, all of our requests, which allowed us to meet all deadlines, so that was extremely helpful. And I feel that the initial interactions with the client, we provided them with regular status updates, and just really kept in constant communication with them, illustrated how organized we were, or we are. And how quickly we can move, and that helped build an early confidence in me, early confidence in the team, and we really felt that that set the foundation for a strong relationship. I think the key takeaway to share with all of the attendees is that really not to underestimate what you and your team can achieve when you work together. We're really all capable of really amazing things and doing that on a regular basis. And there were extra hours and some weekends, in order to make this happen. And that was across the entire team that implemented this. But the end result was a flawless campaign launch, a very happy new client, and our current clients that didn't experience any disruptions to their campaign. So it was really tough, but a very gratifying experience for me personally and for the team as well.
So accolades, Karyn. It's really
Thank
great
you.
to do, especially during Q4, because we all know it's advantage time, AEP, and there is no media to be had. So
Exactly.
A big pull, a big miracle that you pulled off. So tell me, what was your number one, though? I've heard a lot of different takeaways, a lot of different accolades to your team, and I really respect and appreciate that everyone knows it takes a village, that it's a team effort. There is no single unit that makes something succeed or fail. So what's your biggest takeaway? What's the one thing you want to share?
I guess it's kind of a little corny, but teamwork makes the dream work. Everybody was supportive of everybody else. Somebody wasn't able to get to a task, somebody else picked up the ball and ran with it. So it really was, a lot of good communication and just really a whole lot of great teamwork that made it all happen.
Panelists, do you have any questions to ask Karyn?
Yeah, I do actually, Karyn. I was wondering, did you feel like you had moments prior to this that set you up for success, or was this really, do you think that this is a jumping off point for the future? Like, how did you get to a place where everybody worked seamlessly and together? Like, did you develop that beforehand, or do you think that this project really got you to that place?
A lot of the folks at TouchPoint have been working together. Either we knew each other from prior agencies, or we have been working together for a really long time. So we're actually like a dysfunctional little family in all the good ways, right? We know everybody's strengths, we know their weaknesses, and so when you've worked together with a team for that long, you really know how to help someone, and you know how they can help you. So we really take the best of each other and use that to, create a really great work environment, and, again, to have this end goal happen so quickly. It's just something that we all, work together, and we all dig deep. There's, folks who are super senior level, kind of pulling reports if that's what we have to do to make it happen. So we're just used to working that way to make things happen, and it just really all came together very wonderfully for this campaign launch that, we're in market a week and a half, and, we're just really thrilled that the client's happy and how everything is going, knock on wood.
And I have to give accolades to your CEO. Karyn Kluger is the CEO of TouchPoint, and she's really a big believer in letting her team rise up and to shine. And she, they don't just leave. I mean, these are people who've been with Karyn. How long have you been with TIC? From day one, okay? Yeah. Yep. Say that more than half their staff has been with them since day one. So they have really long-term, people who stay on. So and they enjoy being there. It's a very great.
For sure.
Any other questions? Okay, Theresa, we're going to throw it over to you.
All right. So being on the sales side of things, it's a little different. So salespeople in general, we're constantly facing numerous challenges to meet and exceed our goals and our targets. But I found that practicing qualities such as authenticity, building the relationship, being persistent, obviously, and really focusing on the details is what has helped me as a salesperson overcome the challenges. And some of those challenges are, the length of time it takes to close a deal. I've worked on projects that are 6 months, a year. It's not all like somebody calls in and says, hey, I'd love to use Yangaroo, and okay, let me sign you up. No, there's so much that goes into it, in just educating the client as well. And a lot of it's a complex sales process. There's hesitance from the potential client. There's indecision in the buying journey. It's easy to become discouraged as a salesperson, to give up. It affects your motivation, which then will affect your sales performance. So, but I do find that just being diligent, being persistent, consistent follow-up, clear communication, providing whatever support is necessary, and just staying committed to the sales process is what really gets you over the line. Another challenge that I deal with consistently is an entrenched competitor. There's a lot of there's like one big competitor that we're constantly going head to head with, and nothing bad to say about it. It's just I want to present our services. How do we measure up? And I'm just constantly looking for that opportunity to get in front of somebody and just help them to understand what we do so that they could make an informed decision. And being authentic helps with that. If they have to, people appreciate when you're honest, when you're straightforward, and you're also knowledgeable. So you have to make sure you're staying up with everything so you can explain the process to the client, and just focusing on the details, demonstrating that level of competence and attention to detail is really vital to instilling confidence in a client, and just reducing any misunderstandings or complications and so forth.
So how do you keep yourself motivated? It's hard to be I don't think I could be a salesperson. I'm being honest. I'm a marketer. I don't like the word no. Like Karyn will tell you, that's like not in my vocabulary. There is no no.
And you got to roll with it. You got to roll with the nose, Fern, and you have to kind of keep at it. And sometimes if I get a hard no, a lot of times the first no is kind of like, well, it's not a no. It's a, well, we're not sure because it's such and such, whatever the reasons may be. And that's when you have to, work on explaining the process and just reassuring. You're just making the client feel 100% comfortable. But those, we all face the no's and you move on. I stay motivated by really just keeping the pipeline open. You just if you get a hard no, you have to move on and try again in 6 months or the next, buying period. Things change all the time, as we all know.
Well, to your point, so persistency and being authentic really do help. So I'll be honest, one of my clients for the first time, we tested Yangaroo this year, and we've had, everyone has challenges, and Theresa is authentic. She's, constantly, she's digging in. She's available 24/7. So it's really been a big win-win for us and obviously our tests. So it's been fantastic. So thank you,
Fern's tough, as you all know.
Wait, what? No, Karyn, am I tough? Don't lie. Lissie, am I tough?
Fern wants what she
never
wants.
worked with me. I'm just nice on the outside. The inside, forget about it.
But
questions for
it's
Theresa?
It's been great working with you. I did enjoy it so much, and thank you.
Thank you for all your hard work. I appreciate it. Our team appreciates it. Any questions for Theresa?
I don't have a question. I have more of a comment. Thank you, I think, because as we were talking in our prep session, the sales industry is still very male dominated, and to have women such as yourself who put your full self into what you do and live authentically, I think is what is gonna entice younger women to enter the industry as well. I've been doing this for 10 plus years now, but which I think is still, relatively new in terms of a sales career. So I'm just excited that I had the opportunity to come into this industry and to not feel like I had to portray something like that typical sleazy salesman, car salesman role, and being able to see other women and men as well, but just be authentic and genuine in a sales role is really refreshing. So thank you for
that's so nice. Thank you.
And it's great.
And to Karyn's point about teamwork, it's all about that too. It's not just me. It's like I have a phenomenal team behind me in terms of our client service people and production people, and we have our own IT team in-house. So I'm able to pull them all in to solve any problems that come up quickly. You know what I mean? So yeah, it 100% depends on our team here as well.
So, one of the things the reason that we started the Women's Leadership Council is because of this, just what you said, Kaitlin. It's all about rising up. I'm a lot older than all of you, and I was fortunate when I first came in, there weren't a lot of women. Katie Williams was my mentor, and I was very lucky that she dragged me kicking and screaming all the way up the ladder, so it was, I'm very fortunate that I've had, a number of women so that I was always able to lean on and call, and I actually had men. I was surrounded in totally men. I was the only, woman executive. I had, at one point, one of the partners go, "Why does she need a percentage of the company? Why does she need a car? Isn't she going to get married? I don't understand. Why does she have to make all this money? Why do we have to give her percentages?" How I didn't walk out the door that day, it was like, but those, some of the things that we constantly heard. So Kaitlin, to your point, it's nice to hear different experiences, and it's nice to see that our funnels are being open and really where we can go with everything. So Lissie Perkins is somebody I've known for a very long time personally. I've known her when she first started out in business, and I've been fortunate to watch her growth, and I'm so proud of you. So Lissie, why don't you take it away next?
Yeah, thank you for that warm introduction, Fern. And you are a woman in advertising and leadership that I've always looked up to. And you definitely helped me along the way as I was getting started. So thank you for that.
Always, always.
My journey back into the light post-pandemic centers around a few key moments and accomplishments. It really was kicked off by my move to Casual Precision in mid-2022, and that was followed by the challenges of remote work, and I'll go into more detail. And finally, the silver lining in unlocking audio and effectively growing radio gross billings for Casual Precision 98% year over year. So I wanted to start with joining Casual Precision. It was difficult joining amidst the pandemic with a lack of water cooler banter, the absence of in-person collaboration, and the new world order of Zoom meetings. This is the first time I was meeting a new team, and I was doing it largely virtually, as well as leading a new team. I had to get creative, boosting morale from my laptop to employees across the country. This took the appearance of using fun and creative backgrounds and filters during internal video calls, scheduling virtual happy hour blocks to get to know each other on a deeper level, and infusing personality into Slack convos with many, many thumbs up emoticons. Through this period, it must be my go-to because I'm recognized for that. Through this period, I came to know the CP team as consummate professionals and experts in their respective channels, and generally a real joy to work with. I witnessed the team overcome a couple of transitional periods, one in particular at the top of 2023 that posed workload and morale challenges for everyone. But we were able to elevate existing personnel based on their talents and their achievements. And we created improved synergism across the agency, which I believe prepared us for what lied ahead. Fast forward to this year, and we have observed consumer behavior continuing to shift as society post-pandemic seeks a new baseline. More and more people have returned to the office. There is a larger percentage of in-person collaboration, and we have seen a renewed focus from our clients on local broadcast radio in their respective streaming audio offshoots. From unlocking endorsement radio for a national auto protection plan to proving out local control basket methodologies on local radio and executing successfully on a national scale, our talented team of professionals have made 2023 the year of audio for Casual Precision, with the gross billings up 98% compared to the same period in 2022. I think my key takeaway is this year has become my year of transformation, with today being a primary example. I never would have participated in a webinar like this of this sort a year ago. My personal journey began last May when Fern had approached me about joining the Women's Council. And under her leadership, PDMI has opened the door for women in performance marketing to support each other and learn from one another. The council's progress just this year has been inspiring and has provided a bright outlook for the future of women's participation in PDMI. I know I'm not the only one who feels this, but when you go to a PDMI conference, you are in the minority as a woman. This, and coupled with the unwavering support I received from our founder, Brett Charest, and our managing partner, James Vasallo, both of whom I've known for several years, who have always reminded me to stay true to myself and trust in my abilities. I've gained the strength to make my webinar debut today. And my biggest takeaway is, from a team building perspective, is to be yourself, put everything forward, and don't be afraid of failure. As a team, we can succeed, and we usually do when we support each other. So thank you.
It's great, very inspiring. And I'm a big believer, through failure you succeed. You know, there's no failure. It's constantly you're learning. And what can we do to keep improving the process, opening the funnel and touching, you know, different ways. Anyone have any questions for Lissie? So I'm going to ask you a question, Lissie. I'm going to put it to you. So what was your most literally challenging moment this year? What was the biggest challenge you had? And how did you overcome it? Whether it's in the workplace, whether it's personal, and I love that you have the support of the two major executives in your company, the two gentlemen. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of challenges with the team and going through transitions, keeping up morale, and you know, what I see in my team and in the company is that everybody is really striving to be at the top of their game. And so harnessing that power and getting everybody behind one goal, singular goal, and then celebrating those accomplishments across the team. And that's really how I like to lead, you know, the day-to-day. It's just really on a positive note and keeping our eyes forward and on the goal.
And we're hearing this word more and more, being authentic, being positive. I mean, I think it's definitely enforceable, and I think it's such a key, you know, for a team unity. So, all right, Kaitlin, I'm giving it to you.
Yeah, great segue. Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate I'm making my webinar debut as well, so we can be partners there, Lissie. Although I had the opportunity to speak at PDMI West recently, but really excited to be able to participate today. And you know, when when asked to look back on 2023, there were certainly a lot of ups and downs. And I think it is interesting though, right? Because when we look at the pandemic years, we thought those were tough. And there was this sense of confident resilience coming out of them. And I notice now as a salesperson, you know, I needed to approach situations differently to reflect those learnings. So the old adage, the only constant is change, right? I knew I needed to start from a place of understanding, and something I hope becomes a buzzword for the right reasons is empathy. So my job as a salesperson, and Theresa can attest to this too, is that we have to ask people for money, which on a good day is hard and sometimes uncomfortable. So, you know, but throw in an impending economic recession that may or may not come, you know, international and domestic news headlines that tug people in various directions, layoffs and workforce reductions, you know, even harder. Then add in the second layer of caregiving duties, you know, which naturally fall more on women, potential parenting dilemmas, maybe taking care of an aging parent, or even marital challenges. You know, you have a momentous task at hand, not only as a salesperson, but more importantly, I'd argue as a human. So I know that approaching situations as a human first can sometimes make people feel a bit uncomfortable. You know, we hear the phrase, it's nothing personal, it's just business. However, everything's personal? Isn't it a person who shows up to work every day? So embracing empathy has really helped me stay true to this reminder in my role at Samsung Ads. Empathy to me is the act of putting yourself in someone else's problems in the hopes of understanding, of bridging a gap there. And I think being cognizant of the physical, emotional, and mental state of the person on the other side of the screen has really empowered me to become a more successful salesperson and leader within my organization. This view of empathy has really allowed me to open up to the change that continues to come. So I've continued to embrace change, you know, whether that's change in books of business, change in leadership, change in the products and how we sell and operate, as well as changes in results and maybe even forecasts. I'm proud that embracing this has led to some new ways that I've partnered with clients, and as a result led to increased revenue, which is great for everyone. But I'm most proud that these outcomes came from knowing the client better and partnering with them through an empathetic lens. I've embraced change in recognizing it's time for me to grow in professional ways, like speaking on my first panel earlier this year, as well as becoming a sought after advisor in my organization. Previously I may have defaulted to, why me? I only have this many years of experience, like I'm new in the grand scheme, especially like PDMI perhaps. So, however, but in treating myself with empathy, I recognize that we as women need to be a bit more forward in our accomplishments and celebrations. So, I would recommend everyone listening, and my biggest takeaway is starting today and continuing into 2024 to self-evaluate, and however you choose to complete that challenge of self-evaluation, start with empathy and continuously check in to determine how to increase it, not only for yourself, but for the people and your clients.
Accolades. It's funny, as you're speaking, I'm flashing, backwards through my career and saying to myself, okay, what was your biggest change moment, Fern, over the years? And to your point, it's learning to partner better, learning to personalize. Where when I started in this business over 35 years ago, you were straightforward. You didn't talk about what you did on weekends. You didn't talk about anything personal. It didn't matter if you had 2.2 children. It didn't matter if you were straight. It didn't matter if you were gay. You didn't talk about it. There was no discussion of it. And the minute that I opened my life up, to your point, and of course you always have empathy for others, but I wouldn't allow anyone to have empathy for me because I didn't want them to know me. But the minute I made that decision, and it was a decision, and it wasn't an easy decision, to literally open my hands, open my funnel and say, hey, this is who I am. And it's part of my everyday life, whether I'm working or whether I'm doing something personal, because my business, I own a business, blends with my personal now. And just like I said, most of my dearest friends come from this business that we have, from the performance-based market business. I have literally dearly best friends for over 30 years that I've gone to bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, weddings, that have been there through thick and thin, good and bad, that's happened in my life. So, Kaitlin, the way you put it, I think is just fantastic about personalization, about, literally telling who you are. And, I think that's been the hardest thing, for me personally as a woman. So it's so good to hear you as a young woman be successful and how you embrace it and empower it. So any questions for Kaitlin?
Oh, I mean, I agree with everything you said, Kaitlin. I think it's actually so important, the whole empathy concept, understanding. And as women, it comes almost natural to us but then sometimes you get caught up, and you've got goals to meet and work to do, and you can lose sight of that. But I think both to your and Fern's point, getting to know your client and actually building that relationship, understanding who they are and what struggles they're facing, what hurdles they have to overcome to work with you is so important, because it all goes back to the teamwork. The more you understand each other, who you are as people and what you're doing at work, so that it's a mutual success, right? You have to be committed for both of us to be successful. Your client and you as a salesperson, you have to work together. And that goes back to teamwork as well, It all ties in.
It's funny you said that it does all tie in. It's like, in the old days, somebody would ask me to go to lunch or dinner. I'd be like, no, I'm busy. Because I didn't want to have to sit there and have a conversation. Now it's like, forget business. We know each other personally. We'll get the business done, but let's go have some fun. So Kaitlin, what was your hardest moment this year in 2023, and how did you, I understand how important empathy is. I understand how much personalization, but what was your hardest moment? And was it a successful outcome?
Yeah, I think that, I mentioned change, and so I've been at Samsung for it'll be 4 years in March, and as an organization grows and evolves, you have to let go of certain things, and those things can be like your own children. So nurturing an account, letting it go, and then taking on another account, and the swirl of so much happening, it was certainly challenging because you take what you do so personally. Sometimes it was challenging for me to let go of some old accounts and then take on new ones and then put the time into it. But taking that approach of, starting with empathy, getting to know the people behind the account has really paid off. And also, looking at the end game, realizing that as my book of business, it did get smaller, but that was a benefit to me because I could go deeper on accounts within the organization I was calling on. So really being able to get in, understand the nuances of each account within this agency, and it's paid off in Q4 especially, and hearing the comments from the team members to my boss, the positive affirmations has been really rewarding.
Change has always been the hardest thing. Embracing change is not always easy. I think that as you mature, you accept change differently, you deal with it differently, but it's impressive to hear, how accessible you were to change and how you had to overcome it. And you did. You obviously succeeded. All four of you on the panel are salespeople. You each have a different book of business, but you all have to sell. And, as much as you're selling the business, you're selling yourself too. It's the belief in you that the client, and you're seeing that more, as we interface more and more personally, it's the belief in somebody. I think that sometimes is where I know businesses could be equal. It's the personalization that sometimes takes you over, the finish line to say, hey, I'm going to go with this person because I know that I have their personal number. They're going to be on the phone for me at night. They're going to be there on the weekend, and they're going to get it done for us, and I can rely on them. So I think it's important. It's very important.
I think that's too, like, not to hark back to even younger generations, but seeing, like, we as women, I think we owe it to the women that are younger than us to help them advocate for themselves. Like when I was growing up, yes, my parents tried to teach me self-confidence because I had a lack of self-esteem, but I just was never very forward in trying to negotiate for myself or propel myself forward. I didn't take my seat at the table. It took a lot of people to encourage me to do that. And I think if we can continue to do that for women and, the women, our daughters, our nieces, our friends, if we can do that now for them, they're going to be set up for success when they get into the workforce.
Totally agree with you. That's why one of the most important things that we're going to do for 2024 is the mentor-mentee program through PDMI. I think it's going to just be phenomenal. And, I think there's so much for me to learn. Like, Kaitlin, you're making me go back and go, oh, if I had done that sooner, or, oh, hey, I can still change and do this and blah, blah, blah. It's so important to have checks and balance and what you can learn as a mentor and what you can learn as a mentee. So I think it's absolutely so important. So anything else from anyone until we throw to questions and answers?
Sure.
Tom,
any questions? I'm here, you guys. Amazing, really great. Thank you for all of the insight and all the thought. Really, really wonderful stuff. You guys drew some great questions because of the time and care you put into what you've said. So we're going to go through a few of them here. First one. If you could have a do-over on one decision you made this year, what would it be and why?
A do-over.
I can jump in. I think so. There, as I mentioned, lots of change this year for me, and I think not letting I wish I didn't let myself get to a place where I was so not bothered, but just there a lot of thought and energy went into, oh my gosh, what does this mean? How am I gonna deal with this? And like theorizing. And I think if I just would have taken a step back and, took a breath and just let it sort of unfold, it would have happened anyway, and I would have saved myself a lot of stress and anxiety. So I think just being more mindful, I think I've taken that as well, just being more mindful of events, and like you can only control what you can control. So yeah, I think I would have probably saved myself a lot of time and energy if I just would have taken a step back.
And so, Kaitlin, I'm going to jump in. I think you're right. I think as I've matured, where I used to let everything get to me. Like we have a client that's been with us for a year. We own a digital agency also, and it's a very good friend of mine. And I knew from the beginning that I didn't want to take this client on, but I did it because they had been wronged in the business, and I wanted to help them. And it's the time and effort that I put in. It's crazy, but I care so much, but I'm learning to step back, and you can't control everything, and you have to let things play out, and you have to, coming back to the table and saying, hey, this is my recommendation. This is what my advice is. This is why, there's no, there's no yes, but this is where we really should go, and this is how we need to pivot. So it goes back to change, and, as you mature, you change, and you learn to open your funnel a little more, and, and do you deal with things. Lissie, what are your thoughts?
Well, I had quite a few moments of doubting myself early on in the year. And, I regret doing that because my mindset is to show up every day and work my hardest. So what is doubtful about that? I know I will continue to do it. And so I think I love your message, Kaitlin, of having more empathy for yourself. And that's what I've been working on because, again, as I had mentioned earlier, you need to trust in your abilities. And I've been developing my abilities for quite a long time. And I generally love what I do. And I love working with my clients. I love achieving their goals. I mean, it makes me feel proud of myself and of my team. And if I can share that feeling with more people, then it makes me feel even more fulfilled.
Love it. So I'm throwing out a question, Tom. So Karyn, what's your definition of success? Because I know that growing up, success was all about money. And to me now, money doesn't matter at all. So what I think of success today versus what I did in my 30s and 40s is so different, in your 50s and 60s.
I think it's multi-layer. I think success is, making sure that your clients' goals are achieved, making sure that you're contributing to the company you work for, and, making sure that your team is all, you're setting them up for success as well. So it's really, a company-wide. But kind of leaning into the prior question, I think success is also making sure that you have the time to take care of yourself and knowing that you work really hard, you work very long hours. And to Kaitlin's point about, taking care of an elderly parent, or, you have kids and, you've got so much going on that you really need to take a step back and make sure that you're also taking care of yourself, because if you go down for whatever reason, you get sick or hurt or whatever, there's so many different people that are impacted that you really need to make sure that, you're taking me time. And, sometimes your me time happens at, 5 o'clock in the morning where you're just, having your cup of tea by yourself in the kitchen and, just sort of resetting yourself, or starting an exercise class, or something like that. But you're making sure that you're whole, so that you can give so much of yourself to all these other elements, whether it's personal or work, to make sure that everybody's happy and everybody's successful, including yourself. Don't lose sight of that.
Absolutely. Tom, we throw out another question.
Yeah, here's another one. Teamwork seems to be a big theme throughout all of your comments. Does anyone have any tips for cultivating a strong team culture?
I think it would be to listen to, to everybody and make sure that you're, supporting your team and, just making sure that everybody has, clear direction. I know sometimes I'm not overly clear, and that's because I might have so much going on in my head, but then it's making sure that I take a step back so that, we can all move forward, towards the same goal. And just making sure everybody has clear direction on deliverables, who's responsible, when they're due. And I think that really helps, build a strong team.
I'm a big believer in ownership, that everyone has to feel ownership mentality. And, that's how, just not a cog in the wheel, that you really do make a difference. And it doesn't matter how small the difference is, you've made a difference. And that's the key to me, to teamwork, that everyone puts a little step and a step and a step till you reach the peak, and the pinnacle of success. So to me, it's very, very important for teamwork that everyone has a hand in doing it and succeeding. Theresa, what do you think?
Yeah, I was going to say, absolutely. Like, a lot of times I feel like, I'm kind of working alone, right? So I have my own goals that are given to me. I have to meet a certain, goal at the end of the year type thing, but I'm not on my own. I collaborate with the other salespeople on my team, introductions or advice that I might need, an experience they may have dealt with in the past, and how did they succeed at that. And again, the entire team behind that, if I worked really hard to bring an account on board to do everything that we talked about, and then somebody, when an order comes in, somebody is not like taking ownership, on the piece that they need to do, we all have to work together, because in the end, it's all about the client. So in the end, the job has to be successful, right? And so I have to depend on my team. So I'm like the one, sort of like, not with all the emojis, Lissie, but I do the whole, like, thanking everyone who had a hand in making it happen. I always find myself like trying to make sure that everyone was acknowledged. So, and I think it's important because they did a very important piece. It might have been a small piece, but it was an important piece in the overall success of the account.
Totally agree. Tom, I have time for one more question.
Yeah, there's one that actually came in most recently, but it feels like it should kind of slide in here based on what you guys have been talking about. As a male attending the webinar, what advice do you have for me to better support women on our team?
Good question.
Yeah. I think the fact that you're here is a great first step, and that you asked the question shows that you care. So thank you for your allyship. That's a big word that. So we have an employee resource group at Samsung called Women Plus, and we have a theme every year, and our theme this year is allyship. And I think just being cognizant, right? We all have, we all have our inherent advantages, and the fact that you're a man, acknowledging that there might be women at the table or who aren't even invited at the table, bringing them into the conversation. Just being cognizant that like there's lots of people around you that could use your allyship.
I like the word. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for the question. Tom, another question?
Yeah. Again, all these are for anyone. Are there tools or resources like books, podcasts, training programs that you've used that have helped you become a more effective and efficient business person? If yes, can you please share?
I think mine kind of goes back to Fern, is having great mentors and people to learn from. I don't know if that's proper English, but not really books or podcasts, but it's just really surrounding yourself with really strong people that can help you and teach you and guide you.
And if I might jump in addition to mentors, which I've had several, male and female, I've also really got a lot out of the book, The Power of Now, and just really focusing on being present and understanding and listening to whoever I'm communicating with. Sometimes we're on autopilot and we're thinking about what we want to say next. We're not really digesting what they're saying. So that's just really helped me connect more with my clients, with my employees, and with friends and family as well.
I like it. Tom,
Great.
one last question?
Yeah, I got two more if you want them. So,
Okay, let's do it. We can,
do you have a prediction for challenges you expect to face or opportunities you'd like to capitalize on in 2024?
I'm going to throw something out there. You know, I've been in this business a lot longer than everyone else, and I've been hearing all I hear the last 10 years is linear is dead. And everyone goes, well, definitely in 2024, linear is going to be dead because streaming is taking over everything. I don't think linear is going to be dead yet, you guys. I still think we have several more years. I mean, as we all see, this Q4 is just out of control. We can't buy enough leads. It's just amazing what's going on. So what do you think, Karyn?
I'm with you.
Feeling my pain?
Yep. It's a tough one, this Q4.
It's going to be interesting. I think that it'll be interesting as, content has become king. It'll be interesting to see, really how CTV and OTT will play into it, with performance-based marketers, who really, focus on 120s and 60s, even brand, does a little more 15s and 30s, but it'll be interesting to see how the marketplace opens up for that. So, Tom, give us the last question.
All right, well, good. Somebody teed us up for a little promo for the Women's Leadership Council. How do you feel your experience on the Women's Leadership Council has helped you overcome challenges and improve in 2023?
Lissie, I'm going to let you jump in first. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we have a voice and we can talk freely without being fearful of reactions from anybody. And I think that that's helped me a bit get more comfortable with the idea of speaking in front of people. Hopefully I'll speak at a PDMI conference in the future, building off Kaitlin's experience, and I was at her panel, and it was very substantive, and she was very eloquent, as you say. So yeah, there's nothing like it, and I wouldn't be involved at this level if there wasn't a Women's Leadership Council.
It's fantastic to hear. Kaitlin, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, certainly being involved has helped me immensely. It was a goal of mine to propel like my personal brand to speak on a panel, and also just to conquer a fear, challenge myself. I just think it's amazing. Throughout my career, sometimes there's been opportunities for women's groups, not always, but when there is, I always want to take advantage of it, because I think we need it. Like as Lissie said, we need a safe space in order to be able to voice our opinions, build our confidence, and come together. And I think just the partnership from everybody involved has been, and just the warmth that I've felt since joining, gets me, and might be the pregnancy hormones, but it gets me emotional, like thinking about the community that has been developed here. So it's really been a highlight of my year, and looking forward to continue with it in 2024. And apologies for the light that keeps on going on and off in this room.
No worries, it's all good. And Theresa and her team, Yangaroo, always do such a great job at the PDMI, doing the Women's Leadership Council breakfast. It's just a great way for us to get together, in person, and we usually get 50 to 60 people who show up. It's a nice thing to do, and it's nice to, obviously be face to face rather than always on Teams or Zoom. So it's been great. So I want to thank you. Thank you, Tom and JY, for your leadership at PDMI. We so appreciate it. And thank you, all of you, for joining us on the webinar. It's been great.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Really,
you.
really tremendously done. Lots of wonderful insight, lots of great thoughts, and we appreciate the opportunity to put you all on screen and let you share your expertise and your thoughts and your, to Kaitlin's term, the importance of empathy. It just was, I thought, was really a tremendous line of thought. So thank you all for that. Thanks to the Women's Leadership Council for bringing today's event to us. If you're a PDMI member and would like to get involved, you can reach out to me directly to share your interest in the Women's Leadership Council or any of our other 6 member councils today. Your next opportunity to attend a PDMI event live online is next Tuesday, November 14th at 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, when the E-commerce Council will continue the fall seminar series with an event titled Has E-commerce Replaced Retail? To register for the webinar, please visit thepdmi.com. Finally, online registration is open now for PDMI East, April 8th through 10th, 2024, Eden Rock, Miami Beach. With the wide array of educational and networking events planned for leaders like you, PDMI East will be performance marketers' must-attend event of the spring. And now through November 30th, early bird registrants can save $100 on each badge, just $295 for PDMI members and $495 for non-members. Plus, you'll be at the head of the line to book your room at the host hotel. Visit thepdmi.com/PDMI-East to get your badge today. Thank you again, everybody. Be well. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.